Well, good morning. We're really excited to have you all join us for today's session. My name is Andrew Reinartz. I'm the Community Development Director here at Art South Dakota, and we're just thrilled to have staff from the South Dakota Humanities Council and the South Dakota Arts Council joining us today to talk about these unique grant opportunities that are available through the American Rescue Plan funding. So first, just a quick process clarification for you. All the questions, if you could please use the Q&A function at the bottom of your Zoom window. We will have both groups present information about their grant opportunities, and then we'll have a joint Q&A session at the end to help clarify any questions you still have. We'll either answer by text during the course of the session, or we'll have an on-camera Q&A at the end to help you through any remaining questions. You can also use the chat function to talk to other attendees or to have conversations with the panelists, or if you have any technical problems or questions. So at this point, usually I have a little more of a preamble, but I'd like to just turn things over to Art South Dakota's Executive Director, Jim Spears, to say a couple of words. But we're just so grateful to have you all here today.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Andrew, for the introduction and getting this going for us. This is an exciting webinar, and I'm so grateful that you're all with us, especially our friends at the Humanities Council and the Arts Council. I'm going to keep this short, but I think the one thing I want to kind of cue in on here and what makes me excited about this specific webinar is that we are working together with the three kind of leading arts and humanities organizations, excuse me, in the state. And we have this unique opportunity through the American Rescue Plan and dollars allocated from the state legislature to continue to provide assistance and recovery dollars to the art sector across the state. And for the first time, at least in my to my knowledge, we are working together with the three of our organizations to craft and to communicate this statewide campaign. In fact, we're working with Fresh Produce, an advertising agency located in Sioux Falls, and I think it's pretty exciting beyond just the American Rescue Plan opportunities and the dollars associated with that. The fact that our Humanities Council and our Arts Council and Art South Dakota are all coming together under one campaign, under one umbrella, with one message. And we're hoping to do more of this because let's face it, the arts and humanities often work very closely together and are often working with the same constituents, same audiences, even same arts programs or humanities programs. It's a small state, we're a small family, so we should all be together as often as possible. And this campaign, I'm not going to go into the details on the grants or anything. That's for the professionals here on the call. But I do want to mention the concept of this campaign, kind of the message, the essence of this campaign that we've come up with along with Fresh Produce is called Growing Season, because we are excited about the opportunities ahead as we emerge. I know we're taking a bit of a step back right now, but we know we will come out of this pandemic eventually, and we know how important the arts and humanities sector will be for that recovery. And so the tone of this campaign, as you start to see some of the messages, today's message from both the Humanities and the Arts Council, and you'll probably start to see other advertising throughout the state, you're going to see a tone that's about the future. It's about what's coming and about what the arts and humanities can do for us in the future. It's about reimagining versus recovering. It's about opportunity versus adversity. It's about the new possibility ahead, as opposed to just looking back at the old challenges that we've heard so much about during COVID. So it's about new possibilities, about the new horizon and all that's coming ahead of us. So that's what is, I think, the most exciting for us at Art South Dakota as we work together with the Humanities Council and the Arts Council. So thank you all for being with us today. And I will leave it at that and turn it over to, I believe the South Dakota Humanities Council is up first. So Hattie and Ann, I turn it over to you, and thank you so much.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I see we're getting everything set up on the screen for you. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Jim, for that welcome, and Andrew for being behind the scenes and getting this webinar functioning for us. We are delighted to be partnering with South Dakota Arts Council and Arts South Dakota. As Jim has said so eloquently, having the culture groups in South Dakota work together just bodes nothing but good things, not only for making sure that we get out information about this current grants plan, but moving into the future, we want you to know how much we are ready to work together to do what we can when appropriate to provide as much support for the humanities and the arts in South Dakota as we can. My name is Volin. I'm the Executive Director of the South Dakota Humanities Council. We're a statewide organization, and we are officed in Brookings, South Dakota, and we're glad to be reaching you virtually today. I would also like to introduce to you Hattie Sutton. Hattie Sutton is our South Dakota Humanities Council American Rescue Plan Coordinator. A little background on Hattie. She graduated this spring from South Dakota State University, where she majored in political science, global studies, and Spanish. She has received a Rhodes Scholar Award and will be going to Oxford, England this fall. With the wonders of the virtual world, she will continue to be supporting us as the South Dakota Humanities Council ARP coordinator as she transitions to that new university. We are delighted that this is something that fits into her plans for the future. She's interested in how the humanities and policy and governance can be part of her life moving forward and how she can support people through that. So a very warm welcome and introduction to Hattie Sutton, who is also part of the South Dakota Humanities Council staff. The American Rescue Plan was passed this spring by Congress, and an allotment was given to the National Endowment for the Humanities, our parent organization. And through that, we receive funds to provide organizational support to help humanities organizations recover from the impact of the coronavirus. I think it's important to note that often we're learning that, the issues that have happened and the problems and the need for support is not always visible. I'm reading current applications, and if an organization doesn't have funds for utilities and has to borrow it elsewhere, that's not apparent to the public. If they've had to lay off, one or two workers, and those workers haven't been able to be rehired because they still don't have funds, again, that's not visible to the public. If the library hasn't been able to provide services for months because of the shutdown, that doesn't always make front page news. But we know that being able to support different organizations through these funds means that they have a chance to recover, to improve, and to be in a good position to do more good work in the humanities going forward. It is a concern because when humanities organizations leave, it often means that they're not going to return. So in lieu of flashing sign points, we have issues for humanities that are in the background, and we are so grateful that we do have these funds to help prop them up and move them forward so they can continue functioning. The South Dakota Humanities Council was founded in 1972. So we are on the verge of our 50th anniversary celebration, and we are so glad that we have been here and we've been able to provide support in the past. We're providing support now, and that we can look to moving forward. This arc of support for the humanities is important for South Dakota, and we are again grateful that we are in a position to be helping provide the humanities for South Dakota. We have a lot of information that we need to share with you too. Now, getting into the details of what the ARP plan means for you will be Hattie. So Hattie is going to go over the next few slides with you.
Thank you everyone for joining us today. It is a pleasure to be with you to talk about the South Dakota Humanity Council and our American Rescue Plan Grant Program. The American Rescue Plan Grant is to help humanities organizations and cultural institutions primarily with preventing, preparing, responding to, and recovering from the coronavirus. This grant program is about growth, aiming for the future, how we can bounce back stronger, and return with more possibilities as we move ahead into the future. South Dakota is stronger with the humanities, and this organization and our American Rescue Plan Grant Program is here to help you grow and become stronger after having experienced the pandemic. Next, we'll talk a little bit about who is eligible. And our eligibility for the ARP grant program is for the following groups: nonprofit organizations with tax-exempt status, accredited public and 501c3 institutions of higher education, state and local government agencies, and federally recognized Native American tribal governments. In addition, these groups must serve and have headquarters in South Dakota. Applicants must not be federally suspended or debarred, and applicants must not be delinquent on federal debt. Groups that are eligible could be, but is not limited to, libraries and archives, historical societies and heritage groups, museums, historical homes and cultural sites, as well as nonprofit organizations conducting humanities programming. This humanities programming can be anything from history, creating cross-cultural connections, sharing about understanding of humanities, discussions, and different humanities programming that brings discussions on literature. So then what can ARP funding support? American Rescue Plan grants can support numerous initiatives, and these initiatives include humanities programming, both for organizations that are humanities focused, as well as organizations that are not humanities focused. In addition, then, general operating costs for humanities focused organizations, strategic planning and capacity building efforts as they relate to preparing, responding, and recovering to the coronavirus. This is how your organization can grow or become stronger. Also, technical and consultant needs related to a digital transition or in support of preservation and access for your various programs that you conduct. ARP grants can also support expansion as your organization moves to outdoor and virtual humanities programming, as well as engagement or similar activities that transition your organization from traditional environments to those that are more accessible. Through the coronavirus pandemic, we learned that we're able to offer humanities programming in a variety of formats. And as we've learned this, maybe there's different technology that your organization needs to aid in your digital transition. ARP funding can also support equity assessments and planning related to the coronavirus. So then how to apply? When you go ahead to apply, you can visit sdhumanities.org. You'll click on grants at the top of the page, and you'll visit the ARP 2021 grant page. From there, you can read about our program, access our guidelines, download the application template, and complete the online application. I'll show you real quick how you can access that on our website. So again, if you visit sdhumanities.org, you can click here on grants. This will bring you to our grant page, which you can explore a variety of opportunities that are offered through our organization. You'll click on ARP 2021 grant. And from here, you can read about the American Rescue Plan grant opportunity. From there, there's additional information for you. You can view our ARP grant application template, which we strongly recommend that you use as you plan out your application, because when you're actually filling it out in the online application portal, it may time out on you. And so it's better to plan ahead and look to that application. From there, if you have any questions, you can go ahead and reach out to the South Dakota Humanities Council, and I am happy to share contact information. You can reach us by phone or email, and then we've also been hosting a virtual office hour to talk about the American Rescue Plan grant opportunity on Wednesdays at 2:00 p.m. The deadline is coming up on August 31st, so please join us on August 25th for that open office hour, which again is your opportunity to reach out and ask any questions. From there, we'll hold any other questions that you have about the SDHC ARP grant until the end. And thank you again for joining us today.
Well, thank you, Hattie, and the South Dakota Humanities Council. While we get the slides switched over to the South Dakota Arts Council, I'll introduce myself. I'm Patrick Baker. I'm the Executive Director of the South Dakota Arts Council. And you've heard it already on this webinar, but it bears repeating. We are so excited to be working in partnership with the South Dakota Humanities Council and also Art South Dakota to publicize these opportunities. So here at the South Dakota Arts Council, we truly believe that arts, cultural, and humanities organizations are the heart of our communities here in South Dakota. They provide, of course, opportunities for people of all ages to connect with their neighbors, to experience creative expression. They also attract visitors and spending that helps our communities thrive. And of course, they make South Dakota a more beautiful place. So that's why we're here with you today, to try to help support these efforts in a recovery type of mode. And so that's the reason for the American Rescue Plan grants. And here at the South Dakota Arts Council, we are an office within the South Dakota Department of Tourism. It is our mission here to serve South Dakotans through the arts, and we do that in a variety of ways. We provide encouragement, grants, services, and information to artists, arts organizations, schools, and the general public. And we do that all of the time with funding from the National Endowment for the Arts, as well as the South Dakota Legislature. And that'll be no different for the South Dakota Arts Council's ARP grant program as well. So the opportunities that we're going to be discussing with you today, our agency really has two avenues for support to South Dakota organizations through the American Rescue Plan grants. And today, staff will provide an overview of those opportunities for you, including discussion of funding levels, eligibility criteria, and the application procedure. And so very quickly, just as an overview, our agency really does recognize this moment as an opportunity for the sector, not just to reestablish old ways of operating, but also to rebuild in a way that works better for all arts and humanities organizations. The South Dakota Arts Council, we seek to support South Dakota arts organizations and artists to recover, reestablish, and rebuild from the pandemic through this American Rescue Plan grant program. The South Dakota Arts Council plans to incorporate principles of equity, access, and inclusion in the implementation of the American Rescue Plan grants. And as a first step, the agency will open the doors of opportunity wide, offer flexibility through non-matching general operating support grants to arts organizations of all sizes, with a focus on paving the way for smaller organizations and local arts communities to benefit from these opportunities as well. And so I'm going to go ahead and introduce you to Kate Vandell. She is grant specialist and accessibility coordinator for the South Dakota Arts Council. And our applications are also open right now. And so Kate is going to tell you more about this grant program and how to apply.
Thank you, Patrick. Our agency has designed a simplified application process and expedited review for the distribution of these critical emergency funds. Funds are available to support the organization's regular day-to-day work throughout the period of performance. American Rescue Plan grants cannot be for new or special projects or programs. We especially encourage applications from underserved and minority-serving institutions and organizations. The application deadline is October 8th, 2021. Anticipated announcement of grant awards is November 1st, 2021. We estimate awarding approximately 100 grants. The period of performance is from the grant award date through June 30th of 2022. American Rescue Plan funds may be granted only to eligible South Dakota-based organizational subrecipients. Nonprofit arts or cultural organizations must be physically located in the state of South Dakota or within the borders of the state's 9 federally recognized tribal reservations. Applicant organizations must demonstrate proof of nonprofit status under Section 501c3 of the Internal Revenue Code. Fiscal agents for re-granting to or on behalf of organizations that do not have 501c3 status are not eligible. Nonprofit institutions of higher education, units of state or local government, and federally recognized tribal governments are eligible. Applicants must directly address the arts in their mission statement and more than 50% of existing or ongoing programming must be arts related. Applicants must have a history of consistent engagement in arts or cultural programming and/or services prior to the application deadline. South Dakota Arts Council American Rescue Plan grant applicants are not eligible to apply for American Rescue Plan grants through the South Dakota Humanities Council, so no both. An applicant may directly apply for National Endowment for the Arts and South Dakota Arts Council funding, but is not permitted to include overlapping expenses. Guidelines are available on the South Dakota Arts Council's website. The Arts Council intends to make awards that will impact a broad constituency. We encourage applications from a variety of eligible organizations, including organizations that serve populations whose opportunities to experience the arts are limited by ethnicity, economics, geography, or disability, or other factors. Organizations with small and medium-sized budgets, organizations from rural to urban communities, and organizations that may be applying for federal funding through the South Dakota Arts Council for the first time. Organizations with annual operating budgets above $20,000 may receive grants of $5,000 to $20,000 based on your annual budget. Organizations with an annual operating budget below $20,000 may receive grants of $4,500, with additional funds awarded to organizations that specifically engage underserved populations. There is no match required. Funds are intended to support day-to-day business expenses or operating costs. American Rescue Plan grants must support the organization's regular day-to-day work and cannot be for new or special programs. Support is limited to any or all of the following: salary support, fees or stipends for artists and/or contractual personnel, facilities costs such as rent and utilities, costs related to HVAC system upgrades or home offices are unallowable. Costs associated with health and safety supplies for staff, visitors, or audience, and marketing and promotion costs are all eligible. A grant review panel consisting of South Dakota Arts Council staff will adjudicate applications based on the artistic excellence and artistic merit of the proposal, which includes the following criteria: the arts are central to the mission and core work of the organization, the potential to have an immediate impact on the arts workforce, the ability to carry out an award, responsiveness to the needs and priorities of the audience, community, and/or constituency, and the potential to serve and/or reach individuals whose opportunities to experience the arts are limited. Grant guidelines and the full scope of grant review criteria and application questions are available online. A few things to keep in mind. Late applications will not be accepted. The deadline is October 8th. You will need a DUNS number to apply, and I've included the link here in this slide, which Andrew will distribute. We recommend you submit your application well in advance. The South Dakota Arts Council's website has a page dedicated to American Rescue Plan grant resources, and applications are open online. This is a brief list of questions that we anticipate regarding the American Rescue Plan grants. There's a lot of letters here, so please bear with me. Can I apply for SDAC, ARP if I've already applied for NEA support? And that refers to a grant directly from the Arts Council and National Endowment for the Arts funds, or other federal funds like the Shuttered Venue Operating Grants or the PPP grants. And the answer there is simply yes. What is arts-related activity? We'd refer you to the National Foundation on the Arts and Humanities Act of 1965. This provides a full definition of arts-related activities. How do I know what my request should be? Organizations with an annual operating budget below $20,000 will request $4,500. For organizations with an annual operating budget above $20,000, including existing Arts Challenge grantees, the South Dakota Arts Council staff will notify you soon with your anticipated award amount. For non-Arts Challenge grantees, please submit the application and staff will contact you to discuss additional application requirements and your anticipated award amount. What is considered general operating expenses? These are eligible costs that are not tied to a specific project. We provide a full list of examples of allowable expenses on the South Dakota Arts Council's American Rescue Plan resource page. And then, as Patrick indicated, we have one other opportunity for support, and that is through our Residencies for Recovery. Residencies for Recovery rely on artists as creative problem solvers to build community bonds using methods beyond the usual capacities and expertise of government entities. This work is supported through additional relief funds from the South Dakota legislature. Programming may include strategic planning, re-envisioning how the community can be served, artist projects, workshops for community members, exhibitions, and special projects that enrich civic and cultural life and use art to improve and revive the community post-pandemic. The application deadline is October 8th. Anticipated announcement of grant awards is again November 1st. We anticipate awarding approximately 12 grants in this category, and the period of performance is from the grant award date through January 30th of 2022. Guidelines are available on the South Dakota Arts Council's website. Again, eligibility for South Dakota Arts Council funds may be granted only to eligible organizations. This includes nonprofit tax-exempt 501c3 organizations, nonprofit institutions of higher education, units of state or local government, and federally recognized tribal governments. Preference will be given to organizations which have not previously received Residencies for Recovery funding. However, past recipients are eligible to apply. Again, guidelines are available on the South Dakota Arts Council's website. The bulk of funding from this grant will pay working artists. Hours, length of residency, and payment terms will be determined during the planning phase, and reasonable proposals will be approved. Remaining funds may be used by the grantee for costs associated with administration, marketing, and supplies. Residencies should last 6 to 9 months and may include more than one artist. However, the purpose of this program is to engage in meaningful, ongoing artist residency work, and therefore the strongest applications engage the same artist or a small group of artists within the community throughout the project period. Again, guidelines, application questions, and details on this program and how to apply are available online. You can reach Patrick or myself by email or phone. Visit the South Dakota Arts Council's website for more information on this and other grant opportunities. And again, our website has a page dedicated to the American Rescue Plan grant resources. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Just trying to clear the spotlight here. Really appreciate all that great information. Some good questions have come in that I believe have been able to be answered. Everyone was so thorough that it was really effective. And I'm sorry, I can't. There we go. There we go. Now we can see everybody. But a couple of quick points I wanted to bring up. First, I'm going to share my screen. Everyone, I put this link into the chat, but at artsouthdakota.org/grants, we have kind of a nice hub for everybody. So this is a place where if you have any questions on how to get to either the Arts Council grants or the Humanities Council grants, we have just the quick information, and then there's just directly apply here. That'll take you to each of the organization's respective pages with additional information. So it's just kind of a nice central hub that everything is at. We'll also have a link to the recording of this webinar and all of these slides on this page for you. And then another exciting opportunity that was just confirmed this morning, so we couldn't fit it in the slides, but if you can save the date for Wednesday, September 8th, we'll be having a conversation with staff from the South Dakota Arts Council, as well as past recipients of the previous Residencies for Recovery Program grants, which will be a really good conversation, less on how to apply, but more what makes a really good residency project. So we'll be able to talk through some of the successful past programming as kind of a case study for successful community-driven programs, as well as generating new ideas for future residency projects. So please, if anyone has any additional questions, feel free to type them into the Q&A or the chat. Just a couple of things I wanted to clarify that I know have been questions that have come up from constituents prior to this session. Is it was brought up by Kate, but you cannot apply to both both the Humanities Council and the Arts Council American Rescue Plan grants. But if I'm reading the guidelines correctly, if you have an NEA grant and you're also doing humanities programming and you're going to apply to the Humanities Council, but not the Arts Council American Rescue Plan, that is allowable. Is that correct, Humanities Council?
We would have to double check, but I believe so. For instance, that's not an issue that's been brought up before. My guess is that the grants would be covering very different areas. But again, we would probably have to look at each grant and who was making the request and if it was for something allowable under what we have already tried to describe as, you know, the grants framework for our NEH grants. We know that can be kind of a gray line at times between the arts and the humanities. So we're very glad to take a look and answer questions about that if question comes up.
Great, yeah, and thank you for that. I know that's a common question as well of who do I apply to, and I think that's the great part is from working with both of your staffs. Everyone is a phone call away, and really happy to help clarify things. And you know, it's a good problem to have that there's so many great creative programs happening across the state that we're just trying to figure out who can support it. And the other thing I just really wanted to highlight is just how unique these grant programs are. I think that to have general operating support that is also non-matching is kind of unheard of, to have that flexibility for your organizations to make those grants. And so I'm just so excited that this is really an opportunity for South Dakota organizations to, you know, as Jim was talking about earlier, to really be thinking about the future and what are some transformative things that you can use this funding for in a way that is just a little bit more flexible than your funders often allow you to be. And so we're just really thrilled that you were able to put these programs together so quickly to support so many organizations around the state. Yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised, but there are no more questions that are coming in. I think, again, everyone was just too thorough and well prepared and really excited. Oh, here we go. We got one more. Here we go. This is a kind of a specific question, but since we have some time, might as well. From Mary, if I represent a women's barbershop chorus, could you suggest which organization would consider a grant for us? And the first thing I would say, Mary, is just to make sure that you are an eligible organization. It'd have to be a 501c3, nonprofit, and the other criteria that were detailed earlier. But my guess is this would be more of an Arts Council project, but I would defer to you, and it would possibly depend on what you were doing. You know, if it was kind of more of a historical overview of barbershop groups in South Dakota over the years, that might be a little more of a humanities project. But if it's for current artistic programming, my guess is the Arts Council. Am I correct there?
That sounds spot on.
Great.
That does sound about right, Andrew, but it was good that you mentioned that. So for this question, at least for these ARP grants through the South Dakota Arts Council, it does have to come from an organization. So, and I might just want to clarify a little bit more. So we sort of ended our talk focusing on the Residencies for Recovery program, but that is that's a niche program that is focused on, it's got a different funding source and it's focused on residencies. Whereas the bulk of what we're talking about, these ARP funds, are for general operating support. What I really love about it compared to the CARES grants that we offered at the beginning of the pandemic, those were much more focused on survival. And they had very specific uses of those funds, whereas the ARP funds can be used for basically any type of operating support except for new programming. So I would just highlight that as well, if that helps answer the question at all.
And actually that leads directly into a question from Mark for the Humanities Council. Is that also the case for the Humanities Council, that this cannot be for new programming? It can only be for continuation of past programming?
Through the South Dakota Humanities Council ARP program, organizations can apply for past projects, ongoing projects, or new projects, especially new projects that are tailored around capacity building. They can apply.
Great. Well, that's really exciting. So, Mark, I hope that answers your question. Mark is with the Rapid City Arts Council and the Doll, so really excited. I know they've got some interesting programs that kind of tie one foot over into the humanities world more than their usual programming. So that's exciting. Now another question from Jane Rasmussen up in Seten. We're planning to do sustainability and board development work in 2022, having not done it for several years. Is that considered general operating, or is that too much of a new project according to the South Dakota Arts Council guidelines?
I tell you what, so hi, Jane, first of all. Secondly, I would say that just from my perspective, that sounds like a fantastic opportunity for a Residencies for Recovery grant, as if you were to have artist involvement. Now, if it was just board development in a more traditional sense, then I think, you'd be looking at probably more like an ARP grant. And I would certainly think that strategic planning is part of general operations. For any healthy organization, that's probably something they're doing, if not annually, every 2 or 3 years. So I'd say you probably have a couple of choices with us there, either general ARP or Residencies for Recovery, if you want to do an artist-based approach.
And I have to do a quick shameless plug. Art South Dakota will actually be in Sisseton on August 31st for two exciting sessions. We'll be hosting a live panel webinar with the Sisseton Area Arts Council and a number of the artists and community members involved in their public art projects, including the roundabouts, the sculpture installations on the highway roundabouts, the new Greenway project, and then staying for a community arts happy hour. So please check artsouthdakota.org for more info there. And we're really excited to get up to Sisseton. So another question coming in from Sydney. Can Move to Heal South Dakota apply for Humanities Council grants due August 31st and the Residencies for Recovery due October 8th, or are those two overlapping? I know the two American Rescue Plan grants, you cannot apply to both, but does that also apply to the Residencies for Recovery sub-program?
That is an excellent question, and I'm surprised that we didn't think of that for our slides before. I don't see any problem with an organization applying for an ARP grant from Humanities and then turning around and applying for a Residencies for Recovery grant from the South Dakota Arts Council. The reason for that is we do have a different funding source. The Residencies for Recovery will be supported by state funds rather than federal funds.
I think that I would probably agree with that too, that it seems like this is a possibility. Again, just reach out to Hattie, share your information with her, and so we can take a look at it and make sure that everything would be in line to get the ARP Humanities grant, and also be in discussion with Kate and Patrick and make sure that you would meet all the qualifications for each particular grant as it stands.
Yeah, Andrew, one other thing that I would include is, this is a great question. When we were in CARES, we were granting both Residencies for Recovery and CARES grant to organizations, and so that would be eligible as well. The one thing that we just need to make sure is there's no overlapping of expenses, whether you're applying for an SDAC ARP or an SDHC ARP, which that's a lot of letters again, but we would just need to really make sure that those lines of funding are not interconnected, whether it's humanities or arts and a Residencies for Recovery.
Sure, and in a way, it's never as clear cut as we would all wish it could be for a number of reasons. But the nice part is the Residencies for Recovery is so project driven, or it's driven by a specific program, a specific residency. So hopefully for organizations, it should be relatively easy to separate out all of that specific cost structure from your general operating that the Arts Council grants or the Humanities Council American Rescue Plan grants would be covering.
Very well said, Andrew. That's you just hit the nail on the head.
Good. So another question here from John for the Humanities Council. You mentioned new programs for capacity building. Could you give any further clarification on kind of what you consider capacity building type programs?
This is a great question. Thank you, John. Capacity building, we define it as an investment in the effectiveness and future sustainability of an organization. This can be anything that allows your organization to reach its next level of operational, pragmatic, financial, or organizational maturity so that your organization is able to be more effective or more efficient. And maybe some examples of capacity building would include strategic planning that might enhance your budget management, program, community outreach or engagement, continuing education and training for your staff or volunteers, technology updates. This could include supplies, programs, technology training, as well as supplies that are essential for your services to be more effective and more pragmatic. For organizations that are applying for capacity building and new programs, ongoing programs, or even our past programs, we ask that all organizations do respond to a question that asks about how has your organization been impacted by the coronavirus pandemic? And we'll ask you to include impact of any estimated financial loss or organizational loss, such as lost revenue or space concern or staff layoff. If you can make the connection between how your organization has been affected by the pandemic and how you want to move forward in the future, then those sorts of new projects that were listed underneath those capacity building definitions are going to be eligible. All of our definitions for capacity building are included within our guidelines that you can find on our website. And then also when you go to fill out our budget request form to apply for the SDHC ARP grant, you'll see the different categories underneath capacity building that your organization can apply for.
Great, thank you so much, Hattie. That was really, really helpful and very clear. And I will say too, for everyone, in addition to contacting the staff with questions, as they've both mentioned, they have really detailed guidelines available on their website. And so please, with any of those questions, just take a quick peek through those guidelines. That will at least help you ask better questions of the staff, if not answer the question for you right there. And again, you can go to artssouthDakota.org/grants to be directed to both of those organizations' ARP grant opportunities. Well, it looks like all of the questions have kind of stopped filtering in. So just wanted to say thank you so much again to the staff of the South Dakota Humanities Council and the South Dakota Arts Council, to Anne, Hattie, Patrick, and Kate for joining us today. Wanted to say thank you to all of you for taking the time to come on and learn more about these granting opportunities. I hope that these have proved helpful to you. I know, as we were mentioning, just the fact that we've got some non-matching general operating grants coming down the pike is really exciting for a lot of organizations across the state. So thank you all again. As always, please reach out to any of the staff. We will be sending these slides out. We will be sending the recording of this webinar out as well as soon as it is available within about 24 hours or so. And then just thank you for helping keep South Dakota creative and culturally progressing. We really are grateful for all of the work that all of you do all around the state. You know, the Humanities Council, the South Dakota Arts Council, and Art South Dakota, you know, we're here to support your work. And so we're just so grateful that so many things are happening in every corner of the state. You can find additional information at artssouthdakota.org. And please, if you have any ideas for future webinars or other professional development ideas, reach out to me or any of us at Art South Dakota at any time. And thank you all again.
Thanks
Thank
a
you.
lot. Appreciate it.